Hi, my name is Dave Bodie, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to create great guitar sounds with the Headrush MX5, or really any Headrush pedal, without using an amplifier. So I've been doing a lot of experiments with the Headrush MX5, trying to figure out which distortion pedals work best with which amplifiers. Some of them sound really nice together, and some of them, well, it sounds like hot garbage. So to help me figure out exactly what was going on, I created a rig with a lot of distortion pedals and an amplifier and an IR. And even that was a little bit confusing because sometimes it's hard to tell when you hear an overdriven sound, it's hard to tell where the overdrive is overlapping. Are you hearing the overdrive in the amp? Are you hearing the overdrive in the pedal? Maybe you're hearing a little bit of each. Maybe you're hearing one more than the other. I don't know. It's impossible to tell. So I thought, well, maybe I should just take the amplifier out of the chain. And then I was listening to the distortion pedals just with an IR. And what I found was that many of them sound very, very good as, if not better than some of the amp models. And I thought I should make a video about this because there may be some unique combinations with distortion pedals and IRs that create sounds that you can't exactly get with the amplifiers that are in the Headrush MX5. Now, there are a ton of amps in here, and you would think, well, you could make just about everything that you would want to make. And I would argue that, yeah, you probably could, but maybe this gives you something a little bit different. So I thought I would show you. So take a look at my setup over here. I have not all of the distortions, but I have several of them loaded up into this rig here. I do have an amp, so I can pop it in and pop it out and see what it sounds like. I'm running a basic IR that I found online. It's from a collection called God's Cabs. And I don't really think it came from the Lord God Almighty, but that's just what it's called. It's a really great collection of IRs, and it's mostly what I use on here. You can see which one in particular it is here. It's a 57 1-inch from the cone at the far position with 5 presence, which means it's a little bit brighter than some of the other IRs in this collection. And I'm also using an 11 reverb with a little bit of room reverb because guitar sounds without reverb sound bad. So here's the sound with my guitar going into the IR and the reverb and no other effects or amplifiers. Here's the bridge. It's really not anything special. The level is not really at an appropriate level. So let's hear what it sounds like with something really simple. I'll drop in the Tube Screamer model. This is the JRC OD. I have the level at 100, the drive at 0, the tone at 19%. Let's hear how it sounds. I think that's a nice sound. And what surprised me about that is that even with the drive all the way down, there's still a pretty fair amount of overdrive that's being generated there. It's a lot of harmonics being added to the signal. And also the level at 100% is really not anything to write home about. It's not noticeably louder than with it disengaged. Now I do have this one pedal mapped to this hardware button here, so I can quickly turn it on and off. In fact, it almost sounds just below the dry signal going into the IR. It may not be because it's being compressed just a little bit, but the transients, the peaks, definitely, to me, sound lower. Now, I haven't verified that with the meters, but that's just my guess. This particular pedal sounds good. It doesn't get the guitar at an appropriate level. Now, I could adjust that IR to make it louder, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave this like this. And I could get a stronger signal from this if I juiced all the values up. This is definitely a little bit louder than the dry. Even though I think the peaks are roughly at the same level at this point. I'm going to pull the levels back down because I think the JRC OD is a good effect to use in combination with other distortions because it applies a little bit, well, actually it applies a fair amount of overdrive, but it's a very kind of smooth sounding overdrive, and I think it can help to round off some of the harder edges on some of the other effects. So I may pop that in here as I move along. But let's check out the white boost, see what we have here. think this sounds pretty nice too with the bridge pickup. Here's a little neck humbucker action. That's a nice sound. I would consider this a good, clean sound, even though there's no amplifier in the signal path. If you want to get things a little bit more distorted, no problem. Jack up the gain, and I think this sounds pretty good as well. It's maybe a little bit too dark for this kind of sound, so on the bridge pickup, and I still have a little bit of room with the level, so I could actually boost the level up a little bit, maybe even jack this gain up a little bit more, give it a little more treble for maybe a little bit more of an aggressive sound. Let's check out another one, DC Distortion. I have the gain cranked, the volume cranked, treble is up to 64, and bass is down around 35. Let's see what we get. This should sound pretty aggressive. Good amount of sustain. It's got a pretty nice tone, I think. Even if we back this down a little bit, we can try the neck pickup. Here's the single coil. It's a little lighter sounding, but it's still pretty heavy. Let's see what it sounds like with the gain a little bit lower. I think that's really nice. Again, that is on a neck single coil. Another great sound from using a distortion pedal and an IR. I love it. How about the Black Op? This one, a lot of distortion, a lot of volume. This is what it sounds like with the Tube Screamer in front of the Black Op. Well, it sounds more overdriven, but maybe it's not for me. How about the Tri-Fuzz? That's an okay sound. I have the volume at 100, the tone at 100, sustain at 56%. A little bit dark, but that's weird because the tone is at 100%. See that? The tone is at 100%, but it sounds dark. What if we turn the tone down? Darker? No? This is rather odd, isn't it? For some reason, the tone is backwards. This may be because, as I've heard said online, and so you know it must be true, Headrush has modeled all of the effects in a very detailed way. So if the tone is backwards on the original, the tone is backwards in the digital version of it as well. And I kind of think that's like, well, all my friends jumped off of a bridge and then did drugs. So, I don't think that kind of design decision is helpful for end users, because you're assuming that the end user knows what this pedal is, number one, knows how the original worked, number two, and is really amused that this tone works differently than all the other tones in the entire pedal, and that you're supposed to remember that with so many distortions, that this one is backwards. To me, that just seems frustrating, but something that Headrush could do, if you're listening, Headrush, and I'm fairly sure that you're not, but if you are, here's a suggestion. Put a little question mark icon right down at the bottom. And when a user hits that, you go to a page with a full and detailed description of exactly what these controls do. So that if someone does that, they don't go, this is total trash. They understand that, this effect is backwards replicating the original. And that way we don't have to remember the intricacies of every effect in here, because there are some other effects like the BBD delay, the air delay, that behave rather oddly and in a way that I don't think users would expect. Anyway, this is an okay effect. It's probably not one of my favorites. So far, I've liked all the other ones, and I think they could be amplifier replacements for creating tone. Although I think the first tone that I created with the Tri-Fuzz was pretty good. It's just not one of my favorite ones. All right, here's the Anxiety OD. Let's turn that on and jump in here. So drive at 44, level at 45, tone at 86. That's not bad as well. Let's turn the drive down and the level up and see if we can get a nice, more cleanish tone. That's pretty good. Maybe a little more level. Maybe a little more level. Okay, the level is like nothing to write home about here. Let's crank that level all the way up. There we go. What if we turn it on high? Let's try that. Boop. Here we go. That's a little better. Now it sounds like it's just starting to clip the output. Let's check that out. Yeah, we're right at 0, so that's the thing with clean tones is if a clean sound doesn't have overdrive or distortion, it inherently is less compressed than a sound that does have overdrive and distortion. And for more information on that, you can check out my video where I talk about that at a medium length right up here. So maybe to get a little bit more pleasing sound with this, I'll drop the level back down because when the level's up too high, it is clipping the output, and that's no bueno. Here's my Cali76 in line with this Anxiety OD. Drop the level down a little bit. Drive is still at 7%. And now I'm on my neck position single coil. Check this out. I think that's a pretty nice clean sound. It might work for country. Again, another great sound with a pretty solid distortion effect. Let's try the D1 distortion. I'll kick off my Cali76, go back to a bridge pickup, because anything that says distortion on it, you need a bridge pickup for. It's not great. Let's turn the level up. Oh, this doesn't really have a lot of output. It's okay. Let's turn the distortion up more, because that's always fun. That's a little better, actually. The level isn't quite there. What's the tone sound like? Wow, that's bad. I mean, you can hear that's right in someone's nose. That may sound good going into an amplifier, although I couldn't think of which one, but this one's a hard pass for me. Let's try the K drive. Drive is all the way up, level at 33%. Wow, that is a lot of level. Let's turn that back down. Wow, it's still a lot of level. And if you've been watching this far, I congratulate you. And we've discovered another interesting thing is that I guess on the original K drive, it had quite the output. And this does too. In fact, if you turn the drive all the way down and you turn the level all the way up, holy, that is a lot of level. That might be handy if your guitar is a little bit level challenged. Here's a single coil with the volume rolled down a little bit. Okay, that's a little better. And let's kick in the comp. So the K drive has quite a lot of output, and if you run the drive up or the distortion up, you do have to be really, really aware of that, because that will completely just shred the input of an amplifier if you use it, or if you don't use it with an amplifier, it will also shred the output. And right now, just for reference, my IR is running at -11. And usually I run IRs between, I would say, -11 and maybe -14. So not a huge range there. But this is an all right effect as well. So there are other distortion effects in here that I didn't talk about, and they will also yield, well, different results. Things like the 8-bit crush, which I think is terrible sounding. There's the Anxiety ODV2, which is very solid indeed. There's the round fuzz, not a huge fan. And the MX Distortion, which is okay. But the point is that you can create great sounds, and I think you heard many very good sounds. At least you might admit they were pretty good, I think, without an amplifier. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, please let me know by hitting the thumbs up button and maybe consider subscribing. That would be totally awesome. If you really like what I'm doing, hit the bell icon. And look, I know how it works. I'm subscribed to probably 140 YouTube channels. I watch a lot of YouTube. And you can't hit the bell icon on all the channels you like, because that would make your notifications just blow up, and nobody wants that. I get it. But look, if you want to see more of this type of content, guitar-related stuff, DIY stuff, basically the things that I'm interested in, hit the bell icon and you'll find them. All right, that's it for me. My name is Dave Bode. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you around.